Have you ever found yourself in a situation where going into it, you felt fine, you were okay, maybe you were actually in a really good mood, but then somebody says something, somebody does something, the situation doesn't go according to plan, and within a matter of 60 seconds, you are hot. Like you are on fire on the inside. Your anger, you feel like you're about to explode. Maybe you do explode, and you just don't even know where this came from and why is it happening so quickly. Or do you find yourself on the daily getting upset at least once, at least one time a day? You have that moment of just incredible irritability, anger, or again, maybe even a little bit of rage. If any of this is resonating with you, if you're shaking your head, yes. If you were saying out loud, oh my gosh, how does she know? Well, my friend, I know because I too am a woman over 50 in menopause, and holy moly, this feeling is no joke. So welcome to the holy cow, I've never been this pissed off in my entire life club. Hey friend, welcome to my channel. I am Mary. So I have a quick confession to make. I know that you're looking at me and you're seeing my red hair, and you're probably doing a little stereotyping. And you know what? It's okay. I get it all the time. You are thinking, number one, I'm a natural redhead. And number two, I am a little fiery, spicy. Well, you're half right. No, I'm not a natural redhead. I'm actually just a blah brown. But fortunately for me, I can pull off a red hair because I love it. But secondly, second one, that is true. I can be a little spicy. When I was a kid, my mouth always got me in trouble. Like literally always got me in trouble. I always had to have the last word. My mom was just always saying, just stop talking. Your mouth is going to get you in trouble. That was just my childhood. I wasn't an angry kid. I didn't really have outbursts as a teenager or really even as a young adult. But I definitely would say I can be a little spicy, a little fiery. I'm going to liken that to my Cajun roots. Whether or not there's truth to it, I don't know, but that's my story and I'm sticking to it. In today's conversation, what I want to chat with you about is the real deal, the real thing that happens to us in menopause, which is high increases of irritability, anger, and sometimes rage. It is so hard to regulate our emotions during this time period. And please know, I know I'm not talking to every woman because some of you actually kind of, I would say you luck out when you don't have as much irritability or anger as other women. But I feel like if I did a broad stroke, that I am talking about the vast majority of women in menopause really struggling with these moments of just complete and total anger and irritability and just a sharp tongue and just really wanting to bite people's heads off. I feel like that is the bulk of us, although technically I don't have any stats. I want to break down the why. Like, why does this happen to this? I mean, we know it has to do with our hormones, but like, is there any other part to this? And yeah, there is. I'm going to get to that in a minute. So I'm going to talk about the why. And then I also want to talk about what does this look like? What does this feel like for us? And then lastly, I want to leave you with three key components, three key things we as women over 50 in menopause need to do. They are a must, in my opinion, and they need to be done consistently so we can build up some really good habits that will help to offset what is happening internally to us, what is happening on a biological level. I hope that makes sense. And then I'm going to give you a little bonus. It's probably going to sound a little silly, but I tell you, I offer this suggestion to all of my clients. It's something that I do myself, and it may sound silly, but absolutely it can be effective. So let's go ahead and jump into the why. So to talk about the why, I am going to cheat and I am going to read from my laptop because quite honestly, I'm feeling a little lazy and I don't feel like taking notes or memorizing anything. So I'm just going to read. I'm going to read off my laptop. This is from AI. Keep this into account. I do think that this is accurate. I don't think that it's false in any way, but I want you to know the source that I'm using. So I'm just reading off of AI. According to AI, you're feeling angry during menopause because hormonal fluctuations are affecting brain chemicals like serotonin and GABA, which regulate mood. And these fluctuations can also be made worse by other menopause symptoms like poor sleep, stress, and dehydration. So, what is happening? So, as far as the hormonal changes, when we have low levels of estrogen and progesterone, that can increase irritability. If you think about progesterone, progesterone is the natural hormone that calms us when we are cycling in a normal, healthy cycle, like when we're in our 20s and 30s. Usually we go through these spikes where our mood does increase, irritability, get a little anxious and overwhelmed, but then we have this calming effect that takes place. That's when we get a little tired, a little sleepy, a little lazy. That is the progesterone. So in menopause, we don't really have those anymore unless you do HRT, hormone replacement therapy. And so therefore it creates this dysregulation. The brain chemistry. So the serotonin and the GABA, those are two neurotransmitters that help to create calmness in our brain. Serotonin is produced in the brain, but is also produced in our gut. And I'm going to come back to that later when I'm talking about one of the 3 tips because it is connected. The GABA is a neurotransmitter that is calming. I don't know if you've ever seen at a health food store, GABA is a supplement on the shelves. It's something that I take at night, and it's something again that's already in our body, but because of the hormone fluctuation affecting the neurotransmitters, sometimes it helps to take the supplement GABA to help the natural GABA that is in the brain. So when those things are not working properly, we're not calming down effectively or in a healthy way. So then, of course, you have sleep disturbances. So one of the fun things about menopause is insomnia. Yay, no sleep. What happens when we don't sleep? We're irritable, right? That's just kind of 1 + 1 = 2. So not only do you have all these hormones that are all wacky and they're now affecting the brain chemistry, the neurotransmitters that are good for us and healthy and help us, we also can't sleep. So yeah, no wonder we're a little cranky and irritable. And then you have just increased stressors that happen in midlife. You have life pressures. Many people during this time period, like myself, have elderly parents. My parents are in their 80s. Now they're still relatively healthy, but they're in their 80s. So we're starting to deal with some things. I do not have children, but perhaps you do. Maybe your children are in college. Maybe they're already out of college and they're married or they're getting married, and maybe you're stressed out because your kid is lost and flaky and doesn't really know what to do with themselves. I don't know, but there are some new life stressors that happen in 50. Also, there's the pending retirement. If you work, if your spouse works, are you married? So many things can add stress to our life in midlife. And all of these things together will affect our mood and our irritability. And then, of course, we have some other symptoms like hot flashes, headaches, and dehydration, which are all super common in menopause and will have a direct impact on our mood, more specifically, our irritability, anger, and rage. So that, my friend, that is the why. Now I want to talk about what does this look like and what does it feel like. So when I say what does it look like, I'm talking primarily about your nonverbals. A lot of times we don't really know what's going on here. I know there have been times in session when I'm sitting, my chair is right over there. This is usually where my client sits. And there have been times when my client's over here looking at me over there, and they'll look at me and go, "What?" And then I go, "What?" And they will go, "Why'd you make that face?" "I didn't know I made a face." "What kind of face did I make?" Like that's happened to me a few times. And I've really had to stop and go, what kind of face am I making? Sometimes our face just does things and we don't really know what's happening. So it's super important to like really hone in on your nonverbals. What is your body doing? Are you starting to clench your jaw? Do you even know that you clench your jaw? Do you start noticing that your fist, like you kind of start clenching your fist? Or maybe you can feel a stiffness happening up your spine. Maybe you feel it actually traveling up your legs and your spine and then suddenly to your neck. Maybe you get this onset of a headache or a migraine. It's paying attention to those nonverbals because they are talking to you. We are always communicating as human beings. Keep that in mind. This is not the only form of communication. Silence and nonverbals are just as important as communications. So it's paying attention to those nonverbals and what do you look like and what's happening. Now, what you feel like obviously is going to be a little bit different for every person because you are unique, I am unique, and so how you feel about something is not necessarily going to be how I feel about something. But kind of an overarching theme or gosh, I'm losing the word, but I'll just kind of do a little bit of a generalization of what are some feelings you might be feeling. Now, you might also be thinking right now, well, Mary, I thought we were just talking about feeling irritable, feeling anger. Yes, I am talking about that, but there's also some other feelings associated with. And it's not necessarily the emotional feelings that I'm talking about. I'm talking about them, but I'm also talking about what's happening in our body. When we are angry, when we are irritated, when we're feeling rageful, we feel it in our body. I just said a minute ago that sometimes we feel that stiffness or we feel our jaws clench up. Some other things that can start happening is in our GI. Some people begin to have some upset stomachs. Some people begin to have like some knots, is how they define it. Other people talk about like a heaviness in their chest. You can have some flushing, right? Like all of a sudden your body heat is rising. It's not a hot flash, it's just more of a flushing. And you may actually turn red. Some people will have even some splotchiness that takes place. So there's lots of things that happens internally in our body, the feeling, and then you have the emotional aspect of it. You also may be feeling some sadness or some disappointment. You also may be feeling some confusion along with the anger and the irritability. So there's lots of emotion, there's lots of feelings that's happening, and there's lots of things going on with your body. So once again, I want to drive home to you, it is super important that you have awareness, that you have self-insight and you have self-awareness. And the way that you start it is simply just to tell yourself, okay, I need to be aware, I need to pay attention, and you just bring that to the forefront of your mind. Put some sticky notes around your house if you need to. I mean, whatever it takes to kind of build that habit. The primary reason that I am so self-aware and have great insight is because of my profession. I've been doing this for 23 years. And so one of the bonuses of being a counselor is that you really do become uber aware of all the things that I'm talking about, and you're able to gain some really great insight into yourself. So please know, I'm not going to fault you if you're not there yet. I'm just going to ask you to have an open mind to it, to be receptive, to increasing your self-awareness, and really kind of honing in on some insight about what's going on with yourself. Because the more we pay attention of our nonverbals, the more we pay attention to all of these feelings, both the emotions as well as the literal feelings in our body, all of these things can then help us to have better control of our emotions, to have better control of the anger and the rage and the irritability that we are feeling, even though it is directly connected to what's going on the inside, right? Specifically in our brain. I said a mouthful. Hopefully it all made sense. If for any reason I'm not making any sense, don't forget to add a comment below, ask me a question, bring your concerns to me, and I will absolutely have that conversation with you. Before I end this video, I want to give you those 3 tips like I promised you that I would, plus the bonus. Okay, so tip number 1, what are you eating? That takes me back to the serotonin. If you were paying attention just a couple of minutes ago, I was talking about how serotonin, a large portion of serotonin, is produced in our gut along with our brain. So if you are feeding your body a lot of junk food, a lot of ultra processed food, a lot of sugar, if you're drinking a lot of caffeine, if you are a smoker, if you are a heavy drinker, if you're doing any of those things, it has a direct impact upon your gut, which has a direct impact upon your serotonin production. And then, of course, it also affects your brain, because the gut and the brain are always communicating with each other. And oftentimes doctors will call the gut our second brain. So food is super important. I'm going to keep this very simple because, as I have said in my disclaimers, I am not a dietitian and I am not a nutritionist. So I'm going to stay in my lane here, but I am going to talk about what I think is just the obvious. Do your best to have 80% of your food intake to be real whole foods. What do I mean by that? I mean, the parameter of the grocery store, the fresh meats and produce, things that are real foods, things that grow from the earth, things that roam the earth, things that are in the oceans like fish and other seafood. So think about eating real whole foods 80% of your diet. And then the 20%, don't go crazy on the 20%. I'm not saying, hey, have a party and just go buck wild with that 20%. Rather, what I'm saying is 20% is vacations, birthdays, weddings, it's other celebrations, it's going on a date with your husband, it's hanging out with your girlfriends. I think it's totally fine to have a glass of wine or two, or drink a really tasty craft beer or cocktail. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a little bit of sugar, like real sugar, not any of that fake stuff. I don't think there's anything wrong with every now and again having a hamburger or a piece of chocolate or pizza, right? Those things are not bad. They should not be completely eradicated from your diet, unless of course they have to be because of your health issues. But that's where that 20% comes from. And it's not about moderation. It really is just about looking at the bulk of what you put in your body, going back again to that 80%, and just making sure that it is real, whole, clean foods, high protein, mid healthy fats, low carbohydrates, little to no sugars. And then once again, that 20% is where you can kind of bring in some of those things. So that is the food. That is tip number one. Pay attention to your diet. Pay attention to what you're putting in your body. Tip number two is sleep. AI mentioned sleep disturbances. And as I said then, it's a very real thing to have insomnia during this time period. And I personally would avoid prescription medications. I think overall they create more harm than good. So from my personal opinion, I say no go on any type of prescription sleep aid. Instead, I recommend two other things when it comes to getting proper sleep. Number one, a supplement, GABA. GABA is a supplement. GABA is a neurotransmitter that's already in our brain. So getting a good, when I say good, there are some not so good supplements. So you want to make sure it's a high quality supplement. You don't have to spend gobs of money on it, but you still want to make sure it is a high quality supplement. GABA is one, magnesium glycinate is another one. Then you have L-theanine is a third one, and then ashwagandha. So those are just four off the top of my head. These are four that I use every day. You don't have to use all four, maybe just use one or two, but I strongly recommend one of those supplements. And by all means, make sure that you check in with your doctor, because if you are on other medications, if you do have other prescriptions that are related to cholesterol or your blood pressure or diabetes, you want to make sure that the supplements that I just mentioned do not interfere with your prescription medications. So always consult a doctor before you take anything, even if it's over the counter. It's still a drug, right? So even though it's a supplement, it's still a drug, it's still a chemical, and it could still create a problem. So always confer with your doctor. The second part of the sleep is regulating, getting your circadian rhythm regulated. And how I have been doing it, and it really does work beautifully, 90% of the time. I have a small window of time, roughly 10% of the time, where I will still have a little bit of insomnia, but definitely about 90% of the time, I am sleeping very well. So what this looks like is getting up every day at sunrise. You want to be out within the first 90 minutes of sunlight. Why? Because during the first 90 minutes of sunlight is when we have the red ultraviolet rays that help to get our circadian rhythm back on track. And once again, I'm here to tell you it absolutely works. It's not 100% effective. Matter of fact, the other night, I woke up at 2:30 to use the bathroom and I never went back to sleep. I think that was Wednesday night. Yes, Wednesday night was kind of a rough night. Thursday was kind of a rough day. But you know what? Tuesday night, I slept beautifully. Thursday night, I slept beautifully. Last night, you see where I'm going. So again, about 90% effective. That's a rough estimate. Roughly about 10% where you still have a little bit of insomnia. So get into the habit of waking early, as soon after sunrise as you can possibly do it, within that first 90-minute window of the sun coming up. And I promise you, friend, if you do this and if you are consistent with it, you will absolutely positively reap the benefits of it. Sleep is vital. And when we do not sleep, it wreaks havoc on our health, especially during this time of menopause when our body is already going through huge change. Last tip before the bonus is movement. Why movement? What kind of movement? Well, first of all, any kind of movement. Like seriously, just get up and move your body. I have a sedentary job where I sit all day. So movement is super important to me. If you also have a sedentary job, then movement needs to be important to you too. Movement can be getting up and stretching, walking in place. It could be, walking down your street around the block. It could be going outside during your lunch break and walking around the parking lot, maybe going up and down the stairs. Take the stairs instead of the elevator if that's what you do at work. If you are sitting all day in an office, make sure that during your lunch break or maybe when you go on a bathroom break, that you just walk around for about 5 minutes. But bring movement into your life, your daily life. And I'm talking daily life. So if you can't get to the gym every day, then go for a walk. If you can't go for a walk every day, then look at what other kind of movement you can do. I just gave you some examples. The reason that movement is so important is because it gets everything moving, right? No pun intended, but we have our oxygen that is flowing, and it's just really good for our muscles and our bone health and our neck and all the things. It's just getting up and moving the body. Being sedentary really and truly does exacerbate any existing health issues you have and or creates new health issues. We were not meant to just sit and lie down all the time. That's not what we were created to do. We were created to get up, to move. That's why we are born with 2 legs and 2 arms. Majority of people. I know there are some exceptions, but that's why we are created this way and why we have this ability, why we have a spine. You look at the human anatomy and it truly is made for movement. So move your body, whatever that looks like. Ideally, you do go to the gym or you do at least go walking. If nothing else, just get up, stretch, move around, walk in place, and just kind of get some movement to your body. Okay, last but not least, the bonus. I wish I had a drum roll. We'll just pretend. Okay, like I said, this one, it's going to seem a little silly, but I promise you it does work. And it's this. Go to the bathroom. You're at work. And for the most part, you're feeling okay. But then your coworker, the coworker I'm talking about, they say something or they do something that immediately gets your goat and you feel it coming on. Like you can feel a little bit of that body heat. Maybe you can tell your jaw's clenching. Maybe you start balling up your fist, but like you feel it coming. That's when I want you to stop. Maybe you need to just say, hey, excuse me for a second. I got to go to the bathroom. Whatever you need to do, you get up and you go to the bathroom. And when you get in the bathroom, if there's a stall, Ideally, it's just a single bathroom, but if it's not a single bathroom, if it's a stall, either way, you go and you just sit and you breathe. If you are a prayerful person, say a prayer, have that quick conversation with God, ask the Holy Spirit to just, sit on your tongue and just calm you down. But you need to breathe to get that self-regulation going again. Breath work is really important here. And by going to the bathroom, it allows you enough time. Like, you don't want to be in there for an hour because then people are going to think something happened to you. So you need to be a little realistic with it. But, a normal bathroom time, whatever that means to you, typically is just enough time to calm you down, to reset you. Maybe during this time period, you even place a call to your best friend or somebody else in your life that can talk you off the ledge a little bit. But whatever you need is just being able to pull away for a moment. Another reason why I suggest the bathroom is because most people are not going to question you. I mean, you might have that one person, that one family member, that one friend, that one coworker that might be like, "Why are you going to the bathroom?" But for the most part, most people aren't going to say anything. And it allows you that time. And also, most people, they're not going to follow you in the bathroom, or at least I hope they don't. So it just kind of allows you that opportunity just to calm down and just reset yourself. So, bonus tip, go to the bathroom. Okay, my friend. Well, that is it for me. If you like anything that I had to say, if you benefited at all from anything that I had to say, please do me a quick favor and like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share it to that woman who really needs to hear this message. Thank you so much and have a beautiful day.